and welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year to everyone and wishing you all a blissful new year full of prosperity and progress. My name is Dr. Dide Adewale, and on this platform we explore how economics, international relations and global power shape the world we live in. So here we don't just follow headlines, we connect the dots between politics, money, people, and influence. So if you're new here, I'm glad you have joined us. And if you're returning, thank you for being part of this growing global conversation. All right, so now in just the last few months, the world has felt unusually unstable, from Nigeria to Iran to Venezuela and beyond. There's been protest, insecurity, and political tension, and this seems to be rising everywhere all at the same time. So today we're taking a step back to ask, and interrogate and ask questions: what is really happening in the world, or what is happening to the world, why the world turmoil, why the power struggle, the protests, and its consequences on the political global economy. So, if you have been watching the world, you will notice some things that are very important. There's been crisis, not just one country, but so many countries at the same time. There's been sporadic conflicts in different regions all at the same time, and an increase in the rise of protest. So it feels like the whole system is shaking. If you look at Nigeria, Iran, Venezuela, Europe, the Middle East, many more that I cannot mention now, it looks like everyone is on the verge of some type of challenge. So if you look at the politics, the economics, it's now being mixed with public anger. There's a bit of resistance, rebellion, maybe challenging of systems, and everything seems to be colliding in all of these different regions. So today we will be looking at it and actually asking the question: what is really happening to the world order? Let's pick Nigeria to start with, and we're looking at the security and how the economic aspect of it is, failing, and also the frustration from ordinary Nigerians. If you see, there's a mix of security challenges going on in Nigeria. There's also rising inflation. There's currency weakness. There's the youth frustration, governance pressure as well. And when bombs go off, looking at the recent bombings, in the attack against trying to kill the insurgency in Nigeria. When bombs go off, insecurity rises and investors retreat. It doesn't matter how the ministers in charge and the finance people in charge or in the government try to do press conferences to reiterate what's happening. Investors will take precautions. Investors will reanalyze the risk they're taking. Okay, and because of this, when investors retreat, currencies weaken as well. And when currencies weaken, food prices begin to rise. So you see, every security problem, kind of becomes an economic problem because it will affect the individual life. And you see, every economic problem somehow cannot avoid being a political problem. And when you put the mix of all of this together, it causes anger. So this is why Nigerians are angry. This is why people are angry in their different countries and are protesting. And it's not just about politics now, but about survival. Like the normal and the basic, which they could rely on for survival, it's looking very bleak. Resilience is becoming overstretched. Let's look at the case of Iran, how the protests, and how economic desperation has kind of led to the protests going on. So you see, Iran's protest is not just about ideology. They are about inflation, unemployment, sanctions, and hopelessness. So it's not just about the Islamic agenda or, all that religious thing going on. No, it's about more personal issues, more basic issues that looks like hopelessness. So when people can afford food, rent, or dignity, politics becomes personal, like the Iranian government itself will respond with these things using control. No, not even addressing the challenges. They respond using control. And because they are using control, the people will respond back with resistance. And the world will watch. There's just only a level of intervention that can happen. And when the world watches, that's another reminder of economic pressure, because then investors retreat. That's if there are any people who were planning to travel or whatever thing that you were planning to go and start in Iran, you begin to reconsider. Whatever partnerships they have at the moment begins to reconsider. And somehow this creates political explosion. Let's take Venezuela, another example. And Venezuela is a country that has never escaped economic war. Like Venezuela has lived under economic collapse for years. Hyperinflation, sanctions, currency destruction, and migration. So any political tension there is never just political. It is always about economic survival. So Venezuela represents what happens when institutions collapse and the economy loses credibility. So, and the pattern is very common. It's not random. You can see here between these countries that I've just mentioned, there are no isolated stories. They have a common pattern. They have the same symptoms of the same diseases. And you have a global system where economic pain is rising faster than even political solutions. You have common patterns and common problems such as inflation, debt, unemployment, currency pressure, food insecurity, housing crisis, it's a lot. So governments everywhere are losing trust because they cannot just protect purchasing power anymore. It's now moving from being just about political ideology or the government to actually understanding if the world system itself is collapsing and everyone challenging it from their different region, different ethnic groups, different culture, different system of government. So let's look at the bigger picture. It's power shifting. At the same time, if you look at what's happening with the world power at the moment, which is the US is struggling to maintain moral authority. Europe's partners is struggling with unity and economic pressure. And China, its competitor, is expanding influence quietly. And Russia is his ally, maybe, is resisting isolation. So the global south is questioning the old system because of all these rising challenges that institutions have failed to solve. So the world is no longer listening to one voice. Gone are the days where there is a pact, there is a some conference, there is some voice that you hear from up above there that lets you know, okay, things are going on, or some analysis that can explain things, or some policy that makes it look like everything is together. No, there is no longer that listening, no longer that one voice that everyone can listen to. We're moving into a power fragmented world where protests are spreading. And this is because people are not just angry at leaders, they are now angry at systems. They feel locked out, left behind, ignored. For the first time, people are actually questioning what policies actually guide these decisions that you have been making or we have been making. And social media amplifies this frustration. Economic pressure fuels courage, and sometimes people find their voice through the social media. And before you know it, when one country sees what's happening on social media and how the participants in that country are resisting economic pressure, it fuels courage and inspire those global examples to local action. So you can see somebody watching what's happening in Iran, trying to maybe coerce people to do the same thing in their own local community. So this is why maybe we'll give an explanation to why protest has become a global language in this past few months. So now the economic thread, connecting everything, which is what this platform is all about. What's connecting all these countries that I have mentioned and many others? We've talked about the currency, we've talked about the debt, the lack of trust. This is not a political cycle. So, what is actually connecting everyone? I think there is an economic legitimacy crisis where governments today are judged less by ideology and more by the price of food, price of fuel, and availability of jobs. So what this means for international relations, it's not just about diplomacy anymore. It's not just about shaking hands. It's not just about joining agreements. It is now about who controls finance, who controls technology, or who is ahead, or who is looking like he's ahead, or who are the players, who controls energy, who controls food, who controls information. Countries are no longer competing only with weapons. Before it was like I have the highest level of weapon so that you know that I'm a world power. No, there are other alternatives coming up now. They are competing with economic influence. Countries are competing with manufacturing, competing with AI, competing with technology. So, what is now the danger in all of it? What is the dangerous moment we're in, if I put it that way? When people lose faith in politics, they lose hope in economics, and they become open to extremes. You see groups of extremists rising up with different causes, but all in the ambition to maybe ease themselves out of hopelessness or just be rogue. So, this is how instability grows, and not because people love chaos, but because they feel abandoned by systems. So, when you look at Nigeria, Iran, Venezuela, and the global protests, don't just see countries in crisis. See a world in transition, a world where old powers are weakening and the new power is emerging, and ordinary people are caught in between it. What I would say is we are not living in random times, we are living in transformational times. And the next global order is being shaped right now, not even only by leaders, thanks to social media, but by economic pressure also felt in ordinary homes, again, thanks to social media. So, do you think this my thoughts are kind of moving in the right direction? What do you think is driving today's global unrest? Politics or economics? Let me know in the comment section. Leave your opinions, your arguments, your criticisms, your interests. Drop them. Let's discuss it. Let's see if policymakers, governments can learn something from this reality that we speak about and we share on this platform. Also subscribe, because this channel exists to explain how this economic, politics, and international relations all intertwine and actually affect the ordinary man life. So I will look forward to hearing from you. Till I see you again next time. Bye for now.